Greetings, listeners, and welcome to the Whip12 podcast. I'm your host, Khepri, and today, for a second time, we are back chatting with OrderMonkey. How are you, OrderMonkey?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very, very, very well. Well, you might remember OrderMonkey from our first episode about a year ago, in which he won the Furor Teutonicus with Vanilla 012. And man, that is still like one of my favorite episodes. It was super exciting. You have an insane memory and just like took us like play by play through each of the games. So, I'm really excited to have you back.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited to be here again.
Yeah, there's you're back because I just so happens it seems you won the Furor Teutonicus again this year. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know how this happened, to be honest. But it was a fun time.
Yeah, returning champion. This year it seems you played OSS.
Yeah, OSS.
Very cool. So yeah, I think I've invited you in. I think instead of doing a tournament report like we did last time, I think it's a good place to talk about OSS in N5. So This is going to be our OSS faction review.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I mean, I normally start out by asking our guests about their nerd origin story. I always like to get to know you, but honestly, guys, if you want to know, how OrderMonkey ended up playing like he does, just go back to our previous episode. We've got it all laid out there. So let's talk a little bit in general about N5, right? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about N5? How are you adapting to the new edition?
I'm having a good time with it. I think it's an overall improvement. There are some things, obviously, that are questionable, in my opinion. Looking at some combined army profiles here. But overall, I think it's a big improvement to N4. As N4 was to N3, in my opinion. It hurt me personally because they kind of gutted my playstyle, so I had to adapt a lot. But I really like it. People say it's more Alpha Strike heavy now, but on the other hand, it's much easier to have good AROs because you get the burst bonus, or I guess special die bonus earlier now, or easier. So I actually don't feel that way for the most part. I'm having a really good time.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem a bit counterintuitive, but I have been hearing from a lot of players that, that the game actually seems a bit slower, right? That people are investing more in defense. There's like harder AROs and more layered AROs with mines and infiltrators and stuff, and providing for like more cagey games until we get those particular profiles that you just mentioned. So yeah, I mean, I remember that your lists for the previous Teutonicus with 012 were like very heavy on the close combat, right? You used the diggers very offensively and moved up. And you say that your play style has been gutted. Is that just with regards to Vanilla 012, or do you think kind of like overall?
I think especially in Vanilla 12, but overall a little bit as well, because templates are less prevalent in N5 because no boarding shotgun, all the shotguns don't have any templates anymore. Berserk has been, I want to say, nerfed for the most part because most Berserk units were very, very cheap and could trade up. And now that Berserk is a face-to-face roll, you can't do that anymore. So it's really only good on close combat specialist like Hippolyta. For Hippolyta, Berserk was a straight up buff. But if you look at, for example, the Varangians, who can barely win a face-to-face against a close combat specialist anymore, that's a big nerf. And of course, Diggers being out of any vanilla faction also hurts me a lot. I think there are factions who can still play this template-heavy, close combat-heavy kind of game, but most factions will have a harder time with it.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Yeah, I hadn't really considered it from that perspective. That's very cool. So how did you decide to play OSS in N5? Right? Have you been trying out different factions, or did you just zero in on OSS and decided to make it your main for N5?
Well, I was looking at what I got. I have O12 Vanilla and a little bit of Torchlight Brigade and Star Marder here, as well as Vanilla Aleph. I was playing Vanilla Aleph before I switched over to O12 and Torha, and that's basically my collection I got here. And I was trying O12 a little bit and just didn't vibe with it anymore, especially since when I was testing, Hippolyta still had a explosive CC weapon with PS8.
Yeah.
Because they took like 1.5 months to errata that. So basically I didn't have any real tank busters in O12 anymore, aside from maybe the Nightshade and, well, the Zeta, who lost his tactical awareness. So I just couldn't come up with any lists I was having a really good time with. So I looked at what else is there to play. I looked at Vanilla Aleph at first, then I looked at the Lieutenant options for Vanilla Aleph and switched over to OSS, because Vanilla Aleph only has 5 Lieutenants, from which, in my opinion, are maybe 2.5 like viable from a competitive point of view. They have really bad Lieutenant options, and what brought me over to OSS, honestly, are mercenaries once again. Most people have fought Miranda Ashcroft and John Hawkwood by now, I guess. They both count as bounty hunters, and OSS also has the authorized bounty hunters who can do or Harris link with Miranda and John Hawkwood. So that was a shell I really liked. 2 bounty hunters, Miranda and Hawkwood, to form two duos. Especially John Hawkwood, who has a special BS attack +1 special die, so he shoots with a K1 sniper rifle, BF13 mimetism, 3 dice in arrow. Of course, only one of them can hurt you, but that's not what's arrow about, in my opinion. And I really liked that shell, and started building around it, and was very happy with what I came up with.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. I actually was eyeing Star Marder. I still do a little bit, but I was having a lot of fun, and since the Furor Teutonicus was like around the corner at that point, we're talking about mid-end of January when I started play. I think in the mid of January when I started playing OSS, so I at some point had to commit to get enough games in to have some experience with a faction I wanted to play. So, well, yeah, at some point I just committed to OSS.
Right. Well, we normally start a faction review with the good, the bad, the ugly. So, tell us a little bit about what profiles are the ones that draw you to OSS. Like, what are your standout profiles? You mentioned Miranda Ashcroft and Hawkwood. Particularly since they can link. I mean, Miranda gets the emitter, the emitter +1 burst with mimetism -6 and marksmanship. I mean, she's just a menace, right? I mean, it's just wild how good she's become.
She's a menace as long as you don't play against Morads.
Yeah, that's right. The Warhorse really is going to crimp her style. How do you use her, right? Do you put her up on AROs? Do you use her offensively?
It depends on my opponent on the table, but usually I use her more actively while putting her, when I have second turn, she's watching a secondary or tertiary fire line, like after my opponent dealt with my proxy sniper or whatever I got in Arrow John Hawkwood, and then still has to keep moving, and then Miranda will see him and shoot too. Or maybe if my opponent deploys a tag, I'll just put her on arrow duty, especially against this tag, because you don't want to risk that inactive. That's my go-to. If I'm being honest, I haven't really used her much. She was just there. At a Furor, at least, she was just there, and my opponent was afraid of her. So they usually went out of their way to not fight her, you know?
Well, that has value all in itself, right?
Yes, a lot. I mean, the odds are very bad. If you don't have any kind of multispectral visor or albedo, you'll shoot at very bad odds at her, because she's going to shoot on 15s or maybe 12s if you have mimetism, and you'll be shooting at, I don't know, 7s, 5s.
Yeah. Yeah, she gets really good odds. One wound, but I think it's when you have that many mods on your side, it just makes it very worth it, right?
Definitely.
Right. So you normally play her linked bounty hunters, and then Hawkwood. We also mentioned Hawkwood. That special dice which makes him roll 3 dice. BS13. He's got no wound. He's no wound incapacitation and shock immune. So this is like your primary ARO piece, like when you include him.
Yeah, definitely. I first wanted to use him actively as well, because you have 4 dice. But his damage potential is very, very small actively, because you only have 2 damaging dice, and you need a crit to actually like hurt your opponent. And then they'll always have a 50-50 save, because you're saving on 10s, usually, assuming your opponent has cover, of course. And that's just not enough damage. You can use him sometimes, especially when there's a hard target you can't crack with your other units. But usually it's just a very, very good arrow piece, especially since he also has armor 3 and BTS 6. So even if he gets hit, he saves a lot.
Yeah, and that mimetism, can't be discounted as well on an ARO piece, right? You're stacking the mimetism with decent armor and cover and this and that, and you're rolling so many dice. It's kind of rare that you're going to be hit like 4 times, right? You normally maybe you get 1 hit through or something like that, and you can maybe tank it. So
yeah, you can tank it or just go prone, value guts roll, if the odds are too bad.
So what other profiles here in OSS really get you excited?
Well, if you're talking about lieutenants, one of the profiles I always loved since I was playing LF, but vanilla doesn't have it, is the Azura lieutenant with hacking device plus and +1 lieutenant order. That's probably in my opinion, one of the 2 best lieutenants in OSS. She's a beast, especially with the MSV 3 buffs, now that you can shoot at camo tokens, which is very good. And she's just if we're talking objectives, she I don't know, classified objectives, she can do like 15, 14 or something of the 20 there are. She's just great.
Yeah, she's definitely one of the reasons to play OSS, right? That particularly that hacker profile, which can basically do everything, right? It's a hacking device plus. It's got Trinity with extra damage. Yeah, it's got an extra lieutenant order. 2+2 orders. It's a big heavy infantry with 3 effective wounds, great BS, great whip. It's got it all. That multispectral visor level 3 is very expensive.
To protect itself.
What to protect yourself? Sorry.
She's got a marker state with Cybermask to protect herself.
Marker state, yeah.
She's very good. I don't even look at the other profiles to be honest. Spitfire just is not enough damage most of the time.
How do you play her, right? Because I think the scary part about the Asura is I guess going second where you can't put her in marker state. You afraid of them picturing her or maybe being alpha struck. You play her like very defensively if you go second.
If I go second, I play her very defensively. She's got 2 lieutenant orders to make up for it, and she's rather fast with the 6-2 movement. So just deploy her on top of a building or in the very corner of the map. Protected by Hawkwood, protected by bounty hunters, proxies, whatever you got. Because she'll get where she needs to be. She has up to 12 orders at her disposal. If you want to. So just be defensive with it, especially since she's usually also one of my only like shooty attack pieces. And then I'll usually like pick off my opponent one by one, either by shooting at him or hacking him. In a pinch, you can even kill a QAZ creature in close combat, I guess. And that's just it. She's more of a objective-oriented lieutenant, obviously. But she did a lot of work in my game so far, even when it came to killing things. She can, in my opinion, she can do it all. Which she has to. She's 64 points, which is a lot.
Yeah. I mean that's. I think that's the big point, right? You kind of want to protect her because she's so expensive, but you have to be able to get the value out of her. You're paying so many points, you really have to use her, right? You have to use her on all her in all the ways, right? You need to be shooting, you need to be hacking, you need to be getting objectives, right? You need to get the maximum value out of her.
Indeed.
Interesting. Okay, what other troops would you like to mention, right? What other things do you think are particularly good in OSS?
I mean, we don't have to talk about proxies, I guess. They're just good. They always were. They probably always will be. But those you also have in vanilla. There are 2 more units. One of them is rather obvious if you listen to the last episode I was in, is Andromeda, who I just love in general. I always liked her. And now with N5, she's got a huge buff, in my opinion. For one, she has a 6-2 movement now. So she's kind of faster than she was before with 4-4. And is a medium infantry now. She was a light infantry in N4, which means she can do even more classified objective if she wants to. And more importantly, she has martial arts level 3, which she always had, but now martial arts level 3 is the place to be if you want to be fighting in close combat, in my opinion. Yeah. Because it gives you the second dice. And it doesn't matter that's only special die. In my opinion, the difference between martial arts 3 and 4 isn't too big, because when you're in close combat, all that counts is winning the face-to-face, and usually your opponent will die after that. So whether one of your dice is a special die or just +1 burst, of course it does matter, but not too much. So she's really, really good in close combat, even better than she was in N4. And with her 6-2 movement, it's far less necessary to infiltrate her to do a lot of damage, because she'll get where she needs to be faster, even especially since she got also a +2 inches dodge. So she dodges 4 inches, which means she can also like have a 6-4 movement if you're lucky. With physics 12, it's only 60%, but you can get there. I really like her. And on top of that, she also has a zapper, which more than once took my opponent by surprise so far. That's just a very, very good weapon to have on a unit that already gives you lots of bad choices when you have to face her.
That's super interesting. I haven't been hearing anything at all about Andromeda, right? I haven't heard anybody tell me that they think Andromeda got better or anything. So I'm excited to see that you've been playing Andromeda and you think she's gotten so good, right? I mean, also there's another buff in N5 in which now you can actually cut corners, right? When you go around a corner. And N4, those big S4 bases had to go like all the way out and then all the way up. You couldn't really like cut the corner. You'd lose so much movement there. But now in the rules, you can basically just cut those corners with a big base. And I think I think that's also huge for the amount of movement she's going to gain.
You're saving like an inch or 1.5 if you're going around the corner with her now. Which is a lot.
It's a lot. Wow, this is exciting. I mean, the model's amazing, right? I mean, I've always liked her. So and what do you? How would you use the zapper, right? Because that's those templates are always feel like a kind of trading to me. I'm not sure like how would you use in what situations do you find the zapper useful?
But think about who is she up against usually? Well. Mm-hmm. Firstly, I should say the zapper is more of an ARO tool in my opinion. I usually have to. I went a lot of second in my last few tournaments because I can't win or even pass a lieutenant role. It seems with whip 15. So Andromeda is usually also on ARO duty, which means I tuck her into a corner where nobody can see her outside of 8 inches. And my opponent needs to get past her. And how do you do that? If she sees you, she'll either zapper you, shoot you with a submachine gun, which doesn't really matter, or she'll hit you with guard. None of which is very appealing. Even if you're a close combat specialist, you don't want to hit. It's more or less a 50-50. And if you're around her and she always gets a dodge on 9s if she can see you and you don't have stealth or dodge or something. So maybe she'll even dodge into your way, and all of a sudden her next arrow is going to be a zapper, and all you can do is either hit her and she has no wound incapacitation, which means she'll probably live, or you dodge, and if you succeed in your dodge, what you're going to do? You're going to jump into close combat with her and be in the same situation you were one order prior, which is just a 50-50 basically. She only provides bad choices for your opponent, and that's what I love about her so much. Even in ARO. I even had situations where I, luckily made my dodge and dodged out of cover in front of a heavy infantry link team of 3 men, and then isolated and immobilized 2 of them in the next order because my opponent had to try to get out of there. Which is just an awesome feeling.
No, that is really good. I mean, the zapper is such a dangerous template, right? Because it's going to stop the attack cold, right? Like you said, unless there are more rats or one of the new Warhorse units, but it just you can't. The ability to stop the enemy from spending any more orders on that attack piece after they already made it right past, spent all the orders to get into your table half is pretty brutal.
She's so versatile, and that's just what I like about my units most of the time, I guess.
Very, very cool.
And one more very good unit, in my opinion, and it may sound crazy, is the motorized bounty hunters. OSS always had this problem that they don't have any warbands, not a single one, and sometime in N4 they got the motorized bounty hunters, and they check off that box. That was a problem OSS always had, and now it's basically fixed. Only that their warbands are pretty big in size, I guess, with S4. But they're so good. Boarding shotgun. I'm talking especially about the boarding shotgun heavy ride stopper profile for 8 points. My lists for the Furor both had 2 motorized bounty hunters in it, and they are either very good corner guards again for if I have to go second, or just very very good expandable attack pieces to glue my opponent or yeah.
I mean, I'm super interested here again because you're choosing. I mean, I've normally seen most people go with the motorized bounty hunter with a submachine gun and 2 chain colts, but you're going with a boarding shotgun, heavy riot stopper, motorized bounty hunter. Yeah.
Yes, I was on that bandwagon as well for a while until I'm faced more and more opponents who just wouldn't care about a submachine gun on a BS-12 unit without cover, or chain colts are too easily dodgeable, and the boarding shotguns, while they don't have a template anymore, they'll hit you on 18s usually, and if you decide to shoot, I'll just glue you on the ground. And on top of that, of course, you also have booty reroll, which means more often than not you will have +4 armor or a multi-sniper rifle or a multi-rifle, which is so good. So I think the loadout is probably more or less equal between the two profiles, but the heavy riot stopper one is cheaper.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to squeeze out this 1 or 2 more points, you know?
Yeah, I also think that, in N5, glue has gotten such a buff. And if you're using them also as corner guards, it's much, much, much scarier to get hit by a heavy riot stopper than it is to get hit by a by a chain cult, right? I mean, a lot of the attackers that are getting into your deployment zone can just shrug off a chain cult or just won't even care. But a heavy riot stopper, affects absolutely everything, right? All right, all the total immune units, and again, it kind of kills your attack run. If you get glued, then what are you going to do? You're going to start sinking orders into him by dodging to try to get out of the glue. It's bad. It's really bad.
Yes, it really is, and you're making a good point with the immunity enhanced thing. So heavy riot stopper used to not work against total immunity units, if I recall correctly, in N4.
Yes, that's right.
Which now the new immunity enhanced, which is basically the same thing, does not protect you anymore from heavy riot stoppers. Same goes for immunity armor, I think. So basically, no immunity skill helps against this weapon. So even like bears or karakuris or some other units have to respect it, which is very valuable because they more often than not they will choose to dodge instead of just killing your unit.
Yeah. I mean, I think you kind of don't give him a choice, right? There's nothing in the game that can be hit by a heavy riot stopper and be happy about it. Particularly if they spent all the orders to get into your table half, and now they want to get into your units and start causing real damage. It's just too risky to get hit by one and have your attack run completely cut off.
The only thing that protects you from it is the speedball, the switch on speedball, I think. But then you use your speedball token to save once against an 8-point model.
Right. Yeah,
which is fine by me.
Yeah. So right. So you're running 2 of these. I love how your list has a ton of even with all the mercenaries that they cut from all the armies, right? You're still getting a ton of mercenaries in.
I don't know why I always get there, with my lists, but it's what works best for me. I tried some other things in OSS as well. For example, Dart, who lost so much in N5, in my opinion. She's just not even in the competition anymore.
Really? So tell me a bit about that. Yeah. Why do you think Dart got so much worse?
Well, let's look at the loadout. She's got a submachine gun, which lost shock and AP ammunition, which sucks, obviously, for her. She cannot really fight against like armor targets anymore. And I like in N4, I sometimes, before playing O12, I sometimes killed like tags with her, you know?
Yeah.
That could happen. This is not going to happen anymore. Then her climbing plus got nerfed a lot. She's far less mobile than she was, because you cannot like climb walls, like walk and climb in the same order anymore. You need to touch the building and then in the next order declare climb, which for her is still a short movement skill, but or a basic skill. It's now, I think. And that just hurts her a lot, in my opinion. She just doesn't get stuff done anymore, like not as efficiently as she did. I tried her out, and she basically I didn't use her in my games a lot. I think I had one game where I actually put some orders into her, and she took like 3 or 4 orders to shoot someone dead, because they would just save because they had armor 3, and that was too much. Well, granted, with AP it would have been armor 2 still, but most of the time I just use other units.
Yeah. No, it is interesting, right? Because she's not a specialist, so you've got your camo infiltrating, right? She forward deploys 8 inches unit, but her only task is to kill, and I think that submachine gun losing its ammo and her being so much less maneuverable with the changes to climbing plus really seems to have like affected her, right? Because she's still 34 points. It doesn't seem like she got any cheaper either.
That I don't get. Usually all the units with submachine guns got cheaper, I think.
I think it was mostly the units with boarding shotguns. I think submachine guns just got nerfed and the units kind of stayed the same.
I mean, submachine guns should be nerfed. They were too strong in previous editions, in my opinion. But it hurt, especially Dart, a lot. What else did I try out? I tried the Ruder gunbot. Didn't like it.
Yeah, you're already running a lot of S4s, right, with the bounty hunters and stuff. But but what was the issue with the Ruder?
I mean, I only have a small sample size of games with it, but it's too. It has the same weakness as most of the O12 OSS units, which is attackable, and bad in close combat. That goes for lots of attack pieces in this faction. While at the same time, its damage potential is very limited with only BS12. You know, if I play a Rudra, I also need to have a link team for it, for the extra burst. Or special die, and I also need to have a Evo hacking bot with me, which at this point I'm talking about 80 points, or let's say 70 points of commitment, and at this point I might as well play a Marut for 20 points more, who has the same weaknesses but a far greater damage potential.
Yeah, at least he's devastating,
opinion.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. It's particularly that the K1 is in such a weird spot because it's great at shooting at tags and stuff, right? Where you really are cutting through the armor, but its damage is pretty low. So shooting it's very inconsistent in how much damage it does, right?
I really like the K1 combi rifle. I don't even know if there are profiles with K1 combi in OSS, but in general. But the marksman rifle and sniper and whatnot is okay. Like John Hawkwood, obviously, I'd much rather have him have a multi-sniper rifle than a K1, but it's fine that he has it, because he's not there to deal a lot of damage.
Yeah, he's there to like delay your opponent and make him waste orders and stuff, right?
But if you want to deal actual damage, it's the wrong weapon. and I like units that just incidentally have the K1 combi rifle, like Nurkias or even the Sukiol forward observer from Toha. They just their primary objective is not to kill, but to deal with objectives, or maybe Nokia's primary objective is to kill, but he doesn't do it by shooting usually. So that's just, in a pinch, I still have this. More than that's my one use case. I can shoot, and that's it. And that's what all the Rudras does, in my opinion. In my opinion, he's got BS-12 and no close combat capabilities, so he can only shoot, basically.
Yeah. Interesting.
Also, if you want to play with bots, you can just play a Rickshaw tech bot with Red Fury, and he's going to do far better.
Yeah, the Rickshaw is one of these new bots, right? That has mimetism, like one structure, S2, so much smaller, but still remote presence. One wound, but remote presence, so you can pick him up pretty easily. And with the Red Fury, he's just 24 points. So I guess it's a decent like backup gunfighter. Yeah,
and until very short before the Furor Teutonicus, I also had a duo of Davon Techbot and Rickshaw in my lists. Mm-hmm. And it was going fine. They're good, I think, and I think they belong in some of my lists in the future. But I had a very, very bad showing like 2 weeks before the Furor, where I went 8th out of 12 in a local tournament, which I can't even remember the last time I placed this low. And after that, I just went back to the drawing board and cut them again, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the Dawons, right? Because by seeing your style of play, I would have thought that you would love the Dawons, right? They're like warbandy, warbandy remotes with which get dogged and remote presence, so they can be like really tough. They dodge well. They're good in CC. They have EMCCWs. So
they're great.
I don't know. Yeah,
they're really great until they do what warbands are supposed to do, which is get into the opponent's in the opponent's deployment zone, which is littered with repeaters, and then their alpha strike ends. There just needs to be a flash pulse bot, even prone on top of a building, or a hacker prone on a building, and you will not be able to move any further. Immunity enhanced won't help against comms attacks, so you're going to get hacked. ECM hacker -3 is great and all, but at some point you're going to get hacked. And that's it. And that's a problem that OSS has in general. So I didn't want my warbands to also have this problem. That's why the Motorist Bounty Hunter got picked up.
Right. I see.
And I still like them. I like them to put them into a dual link with a Rickshaw and have this duo that can do all, basically. Can shoot, can template, can CC. But it's more of a secondary attack piece for the midfield. And especially not for the first turn. You need to clear the repeaters first. And that it didn't make the cut. Well, not for this tournament. I used them in other tournaments prior to the Furor. Okay, right. Well, I think it makes sense. I also see that there are no Dekini. I don't know if you have other things to say, like you want to cover some other units, or should we go and take a look at the list you took to the Furor? Well, I think I'm almost through the good. Maybe like some honorable mentions to Shukra, Chain of Command, of course. Or even as a lieutenant, he's pretty good. He's a very, very good unit in general. He just doesn't do anything aside from providing counterintelligence, Chain of Command, or Strategos, depending on which profile you're using. But it's a very good unit, of course. And then... where's the other one? The Danavas Hacker 2. It's a very good unit. Hacker with Oblivion +1 burst and a hacking device plus. and pitchers if you're into that kind of playstyle. They didn't make the cut because I had other hackers in my list. Like if you have Azura, why would you take a Dynavas hacker with you? You already have a hacking device plus, and all the hacking you could need, especially when you're also packing a proxy 2 hacker. But it's a very good unit. It just didn't make the cut for me.
I also think it's kind of rare. I just wanted to mention that I think they're one of the very few sectorials that their base troops are allowed to duo, right? Because you can actually duo a Dakini with a Deva or 2 Dakinis together as a duo, right? And get those special dice. While most other sectorials, need to harass, these are forced to harass these line troops. So I always think that's interesting.
I think that's the only way I see Dakinis work. Like very cheap dual links, maybe with a Deva, maybe just Dakini, maybe 2 Dakinis and a Dynavas if you want to get your pitchers out more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Dakinis really suffered from all the link team changes. They cap out at BS12 right now if you're having a 4-man Dakini link, or BS14 if you're willing to commit the Apsara for 21 points, which is a very big commitment in my opinion, and that's just a lot to ask for, which I didn't.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't take them. If you're taking Dakinis for 13 points, you might as well take authorized bounty hunters for 12 points.
Right. Yeah, that's why they're forming like your backbone, your core. The authorized bounty hunters that allows you to mix in those other units that are interesting. Let's tell me your thoughts about the Sophotect, right? She's gotten like a huge buff in N5, I believe.
I think she's gotten cheaper, and the biggest buff I can see, the engineer reroll is kind of nice and unique. And the biggest buff I see are the armed turrets she's got.
Yeah.
I think she's good. I've seen some people take them. I only rather recently learned that armed turrets are perimeter weapons, not deployable weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So you can place them wherever in 8 inches, which is kind of cool. Personally, for me, it's just not the kind of unit I guess I like to play. If I take before I take a Sophotect, I probably look to get Parvati in, because she does the same thing basically but better when it comes to being a specialist. So in my opinion, you take the Sophotect when you want to play the turret game, I guess. But that's nothing I have looked into too deep so far. I gotta admit, I neglected it as a viable strategy until recently. So that's why I didn't test it too much, but I probably should. But I think it's a good unit with some very good use cases.
But it is true that
expensive.
Yeah, she is expensive, and it is true. Like you mentioned that Parvati is a unit that seems more suited to how you play things, right? She's another toolbox. She's also Doctor Engineer, but then she's got the submachine gun +1 burst and super jump, which makes her super mobile, and her 2 wounds. She can can even attack. Can even be used as a turn 2, turn 3 attack piece or something like that, right?
She's very good. She also got 2 points cheaper. Well, Parvati now, but in general, they're both a bit too cheap if I just want a engineer or a doctor.
Yeah, a bit too expensive, right?
Yeah. 30 points is a lot. 36 in the case of Parvati.
Particularly when you've got the posthumans, which give you like access to such cheap doctors and engineers and specialists, right? In general.
13 points for a doctor or engineer with 15 is just so good. Who also, by the way, has BR13, a combi rifle and mimetism. So back when I was playing LF, I used them as like a secondary attack piece from time to time. Because why not? They shoot good.
Yeah, they shoot good, and I think that's and if you lose them, you don't even lose an order. So that's the kind of thing. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that makes you be able to use them, and maybe in ways that could be a little bit risky for other units.
Yeah.
Very, very, very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so I have here the lists that you sent me for the Furor, and let's just go through them. Right, I'm very interested for you to let us know a little bit of the insight into how you built them and how you use them. They're very you. I mean, I love that your lists have basically 2 SWC and 2.5 SWC. So let's go through them. All right, we've got the list 1 is an Asura, like we mentioned before, with a Lieutenant +1 order, hacking device plus with Trinity, a very powerful lieutenant here. Then you have the core, which is the Hawkwood K1 sniper, a bounty hunter, 2 bounty hunters, and Miranda Ashcroft. 2 net rods, Shukra chain of command, Andromeda, and a motorized bounty hunter. That makes up group 1. And then group 2, we have the proxy hacker, the proxy doctor, 2 flash pulse bots and repeaters. I'm guessing that's also very important. Another motorized bounty hunter, and a Garuda forward observer. Yeah. So talk to me a bit about this list.
Well, this list is obviously made for missions where you have to do lots of classified objectives. I can't quite recall the Furor Teutonicus missions. I think it was... Well, we definitely had to play countermeasures and frontlines, which both are very objective-heavy. Classified objective-heavy, that is. So Azura is a natural inclusion in my opinion, because you can, like... I don't have the exact number, but the amount of classified she can do is at least... It's definitely double digits, so 10 and above. Somewhere between 10 and 14 if I had to take a guess. Which is a lot. She's an elite troop. She is a hacker. She is decent in close combat. So she can do a lot of those. While also being a capable gunfighter. Burst 3 is a little bit lackluster, of course. But I like her for that reason alone. Then John Hawkwood is just my go-to ARO piece. Actually, prior to the Furor, shortly before the Furor, this list had not only John Hawkwood sniper, but also the proxy Mark II sniper, and lost one of the motorized bounty hunters for it. For even more arrows, but I decided to want a second and especially midfield hacker specialist for more classified and more pressure against enemy heavy infantry. Then Miranda Ashcroft is just a good unit. To be honest, she's just there to be a nuisance if I need it, if I need one, if I have to fight attack or some very heavy infantry unit. I just want this burst 3.5 emitter to... I just wanted to have it in my arsenal, while also providing another special die to the bounty hunter she's linked with. So she's just good. So why not take her? Which comes at a price at 28 points, of course. Shukra chain of command is a no-brainer if you're playing an offensive lieutenant. Andromeda, we talked a lot about her as well. She's an attack piece for me, or an ARO, depending on what I need right now, and also very, very good at doing objectives. since she's in medium infantry, she has decharges. She's my only close combat specialist. And she's also a specialist operative for other missions to press buttons. She's just an overall very solid piece. Yeah, I don't know. That's just a very, in my opinion, that's a very solid core for any mission where you have to do a lot of classified objectives. What else we got? Yeah, sorry.
No, that's interesting, right? I hadn't really seen Andromeda in that lens, right? I mean, you did mention it before, but it's true that she can do quite a few classified objectives. She's infiltrating, right? So she's gonna be there like in a mixed function where she can like fight in the midfield and also complete those classifieds.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting view.
Yeah. Oh, here I just found it. We had capture and protect, unmasking, countermeasures, supremacy, and frontline in at the Furor. So at least for frontline and countermeasures, this was the list I wanted to play. And for the others, I'd make it matchup dependent.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got in this list? Motorized Bounty Hunter we already covered. They're just very good warbands in my opinion, or well, cover the lack of warbands in OSS. Proxies as well. They're just good units. Proxy Mark II hacker for having a backup hacker and as an elite troop you also can do a decent amount of classifieds. While also it doesn't hurt to lose it, so I can deploy it aggressively on top of building or maybe even around the corner to stop also strikes, which I did sometimes. And the proxy doctor over the engineer because I don't really have many structure units in this list.
Yeah.
You could argue that you want the engineer rather than the doctor to get Azura out of some states she might be put into. Like immobilized, of course, since she's hackable. But I decided to go with the doctor, and that was the right decision in my opinion. Like in retrospect.
Mm-hmm.
The flashball spots, of course, they're just cheap orders, same as net rods basically. And I sometimes deployed them prone just to have some repeaters near units that I really wanted to protect, but more often than not, they were just flash pulses. Second, like expendable orders in the second group, my opponent has to deal with when they go first. Another motorized, same thing as the first, and then the Garuda tag bot. This was kind of a wild card for me. I rarely used parachutist or combat jump units in the past, and that one took the spot because of the border skirmisher rule that still exists in ITS. Where are we at right now? 16?
That's right.
Yeah. In ITS 16, there's still a border skirmisher rule, which means a parachutist or combat jumper can still deploy inside an exclusion zone once per game. If there is an exclusion zone, which means they can either walk in on the side of the table for parachutists, even if there is an exclusion zone, or even deploy without a roll at the edge at the inside edge of an exclusion zone anywhere on the table. So that's very powerful, especially since some opponents won't remember that this exists and not protect themselves against it during deployment. And that's just another specialist with as a forward observer, but also with BS-12 and mimetism capable gunfighter if you need one.
Also, yeah, we haven't spoken about the Garudas. I'm a big fan of combat jumpers in this in this N5. I think that they've the buff to super jump, them all getting super jump, and like the points discount for some of the weapons that they've been armed with, kind of means that look, you got the Garuda Forward Observer for 20 points, right? 20 points for a mimetism BS12 combi rifle, which can do classifieds and missions, and also moves 8 inches and then jumps 6 inches. So he's super fast, right?
Yeah, and more often than not, he'll see you without cover, so he'll be shooting on 15s. That's just the nature of combat jumpers, I guess. I really liked him. That's this tournament. The only downside to the Garuda, especially, is that it's hackable. Once again, but that's just an OSS weakness in general.
Yeah, that's right.
I could see myself even take this Garuda Spitfire just to kill, depending on missions.
Mm-hmm.
The Garuda might as well, if you're like short 2 points or something, could as well be a Daleth Forward Observer sensor bot with tactical awareness, which I also really came to like. It's a very good. The giving tactical awareness for a 3-point increase to all those sensor forward observer bots was a really good addition in my opinion. I like it.
Yeah, I've been using it as well, particularly for vanilla Jing, which sometimes doesn't get the best specialists. You find out it's a very solid specialist for the cost, and the sensor is extremely useful, right? Camo is very powerful,
and the buff to triangulated fire is nothing to scoff at either.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a very good package in general. Actually, that's why I've downgraded, in parentheses, my motorized bounty hunter in this list I upgraded the Daleth rebot to the forward observer, and I needed 2 points. And that's when I started to use the boarding shotgun motorized bounty hunters instead of the chain code ones. And that's how I changed my opinion on them too.
Very curious, very curious. Okay. Let's take a look at the second list.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the second list, you're running a Marut Lieutenant, 2 net rods, Bounty Hunter, Hawkwood, Bounty Hunter, Miranda, the same core we had before, a motorized Bounty Hunter, and a CSU, right? A CSU. Specialist operative, right? And then in group 2, you have the proxy hacker, Mark II proxy hacker, the infiltrating camouflage one, proxy Mark 1 engineer, and then another motorized bounty hunter, 2 flash post bots, and Andromeda.
Yeah. That's just the list for any other mission I don't need too many specialists for. Maybe one correction to your same core than the first list.
Oh.
John Hawkwood is not the K1 marksman sniper rifle in
I just
in
realized that.
But it's the John Hawkwood Chain of Command X-Visor with combi rifle plus 1 burst.
All right. Okay, so now you're going to have to tell me. You're going to have to talk to me about this.
That was probably the latest addition to this list. Prior to that, the list looked a little bit different because I had to fit in shoehorn the Shukra in there, and then I didn't have enough points for Hawkwood and Ashcroft, and I was a little lost. And at some point, I don't know why I disregarded the combi rifle in Hawkwood prior to that, a lot. And then I looked at it and thought, because also people always told me he's just too expensive for 40 points. He's too expensive. They also said this about the K1 sniper rifle. But I actually disagree on both parts, especially now after this tournament. The John Hawkwood Chain of Command, yes, it's 40 points, which is a lot. But especially in OSS, when you look at it, you usually need a Chain of Command in OSS because you'll play Marut or a Azura Lieutenant. Maybe sometimes you'll use a Deva or a Shukra Lieutenant or something, then you don't need chain of command, of course. But usually you'll want chain of command. So the Shukra is 21 points. In a cheaper, 24, right? Chain of command, 21 points. The cheapest chain of command Shukra is 21 points for a unit that does nothing besides providing counterintelligence and chain of command. And it's very easy to kill for your opponent once they get to it. So if you just leave him out and spend the 19 points extra for Hawkwood, you have an actual, like a capable chain of command unit. It's a specialist. He can fend for himself in close combat. He can shoot very well. He has good arrows if you want to. And that's how I came to, because I in the tournament prior to the Furor, I got shot into into Loss of Lieutenant twice because people killed my Shukra, and I am really not used to play with tags, so I mispositioned my Marut from time to time, and then this idea came up with using John Hawkwood as a chain of command as well, especially since he has a burst 6, or let's say burst 4 plus 2 special dice combi rifle in a duo team. And at this point, it might as well be burst 6. I think that the difference between 6 dice, 4 dice plus 2 special dice, and actual 6 dice isn't too big, because usually 2 of them will whiff anyway, or get cancelled by your opponent.
Yeah, you're like missing out on the top on the last 2 damage dice, right? I mean, it's like you're gonna get 4 hits through. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
it's only a combi rifle, I know, but it's still, if you're not shooting at very heavy armored targets, for which I have a PS4 multi HMG on a BS15 platform with a Marut, so he's not gonna shoot at heavily armored targets, So I decided to try him out. I only had enough time to play 2 games with him prior to the Furor, and I really liked it. And he did a lot. He did a lot of work. One, because my opponent usually just didn't bother trying to get me into Loss of Lieutenant, because it's a lot of work to kill a Marut and John Hawkwood. And 2, because he did some objective and killed some stuff, like secondary attack piece stuff, I really liked it. I think I'm gonna try it out again. And also, it's very fun, like rolling with 6 dice, shooting at your opponent and rolling 6 dice, and they look at you and why do you have 6 dice? And then it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, he is a special character, right? I mean, he really is he's a special character, but now he really feels special, right? He has like really, really weird and cool skills. He's like this rich mercenary captain who really gets all the toys, right?
Yeah, he really does. And he also can fend for himself in the ARO. Like same thing as the K1 sniper rifle, just like worse range, of course. But if it comes to it, if he has to shoot at somebody in ARO, he still gets 3 dice.
Yeah, and he does have the X visor to push those ranges out a little bit more.
Yeah, just awesome. He's a lot of fun. I don't know if it's optimal. Maybe I should emphasize this. These lists I'm not used to playing OSS yet, and these lists might very well be suboptimal, but they work for me, so.
Yeah, they work for you. I mean, I think that's undeniable, right? So how do you defend with this list, right? Because you don't have the Hawkwood long range ARO. So how are you setting up?
Well, the plan was to just go first.
Good plan. Good plan.
Didn't happen. A lot at Furor Teutonicus, I didn't pass a single lieutenant roll until the 5th game. Like, I didn't pass one. I failed all of them. I rolled above a 15 in 4 games in a row.
That's rough.
It just happens sometimes, but I took it with a sense of humor. But how do you fend with this? of course, the Marut has to watch some fire lines, but very carefully. He always has to be able to guts away 2 inches, and people have to remember that that's what people often forget with tags. If you can't improve your cover with a guts roll, you are not allowed to move. Which means if 2 inches won't be enough to get out of line of sight, you are not allowed to move and to move like more into cover, because it doesn't improve anything. So he always barely looked out a secondary fire line to shoot at stuff that tried to enter my deployment zone from a different angle, while being protected by Ashcraft. In this list, honestly, Ashcraft was more of an arrow piece. And the Motorized Bounty Hunter, the CSU, the Proxy Hacker, and Andromeda, they all were on arrow duty, on short range arrow duty, providing hacking arrows, supporting shotgun hits, zappers, guard attacks, or nanopulsers, whatever templates they had. And that usually worked out pretty good. There were a few instances where I was really sweating because my opponent had like Dog Warriors, which are awesome now in N5, in my opinion. Or Tariq Manzouri. I was very afraid of that unit as well. But it worked out in the end. Maybe I got lucky as well. I definitely got lucky on a few instances at this tournament. Yeah, that's basically the plan. You just gotta watch secondary arrow fire lines. You don't have any sniper who just can stand on top of a building and shoot everything that moves, but you have to look at the entrances into your deployment zone to protect your key units.
Right. I mean, it was a very big tournament, right? We're talking 62 players over 5 rounds, right? So it's a big one, right? You guys put up quite a show.
I think the biggest yet in Germany.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to win any tournament without a tiny bit of luck, so I wouldn't hold that against you.
There was one game, maybe a little anecdote, where I was really lucky, and I still feel kind of bad for my opponent. 3rd round against Vanilla Combined, and I was scared. I was really scared because of Nokias, of course. And my opponent, of course, played Nokias, and I had the first turn, and my Alpha Strike was mediocre, sadly. Only killed like 2 units, or 2 units, one of which was Teucer, who I then learned also has a zapper, because that's what this unit needs,
Yeah.
So Andromeda killed Teucer, but got zapped, and my opponent then in his turn ran into close combat with her with a Daturazi and Nokias.
Oof.
And after some other stuff we did, but that was the last few orders of the game. Then in his first turn, he face to face Andromeda with Nokias, 5 dice on 3 dice on 25 versus my 1 die on 21, and he lost the face to face and lost a wound. Then he switched to the Daturazi because he was scared for his Nokia, 3 dice on 23 versus 2 on 21, and he lost, and his Daturazi died. And then he switched to Nokias again, and 2 orders later, Nokias also died. And after that, we used a dice calculator to look at the odds, and it was so far away from a 50-50. It was like 65 to 15% or something for him on his side, and I won all the face-to-face rolls. Not even critting, just always rolling 1 or 2 higher than he did. I think I used up all of my luck in this game for the rest of the tournament. And after that, he just forfeited.
Yeah.
He didn't have anything left.
Listen, I mean, what can I say? It's unlucky, but I think you'd be surprised. Like, 16% is rolling a 1 on a d6, and winning like that face to face is kind of swingy, right? Going 60-40, 65-35 is not that great. Winning that like 3-4 times in a row is not that far away from rolling a 1 on a d6. So yeah.
No. Each of those rolls were 65 to 15%. Because you gotta remember, Nokia's has a 25% crit chance.
Yeah, no, it's insanely good. Yeah,
per dice that he rolls, and this crit chance, I'm not good at this whole statistic thing, but I just trust in the app, the dice calculator app, which I only use after games. I like it. I like it a lot, but I use it to confirm my decisions after a game. If I made decisions and they just didn't work out, I check the odds after the game to see, was it really a bad decision or was it just bad luck? Just to improve,
Yeah, I think that's a very good use for it, by the way. To see, how likely it was, because sometimes the probabilities are a bit unintuitive.
Yeah, like in close combat, I thought it was more like a 60-40 per face-to-face roll, but it was so far away from it because I only had like a 15% chance or 16% chance to win the face-to-face.
I see.
Every
I see
time,
what you mean.
every time, Well, the Datarazi odds were a little bit closer, of course, but the Nokia's odds were very bad for me. Because of those 3 dice or later 2 dice on 25s. So if he rolls a 20 or 1 to 5, it's even a 30% crit chance per dice. And that tilts the odds so heavily in my opponent's favor. I should not have won that, but it can happen, sometimes that's just how it works. I've been on the receiving end of these odds too, and in the game after that, for example, my Marut died to a single Panzerfaust. We're talking 4 wounds from 1 hit.
Oh no.
They crit me and I just took 4 wounds. So that was I also, just for fun, looked it up. It was like a 2.5% chance to receive 3 or more orders, 3 or more wounds in 1 hit. It happens, but yeah, after that my opponent just forfeited because all he had left were 2 plasma snipers and some flash pulse bots or something, like chaff,
Yeah. So you've got any other stories you want to share about the tournament? It seems like it was a big one. It must have been fun.
Well, maybe a thanks to the organizers. I said this last year as well. It's such a great tournament. This year we were at a new location because the old one was getting far more expensive, I think. They had some reasons for switching locations, and it was a bigger location, so they thought might as well up the number of participants. So now they were up to 64 people. A few jumped off at the very last second because of sickness and stuff. Life happens, But the new location was great. It was a very big hall, I guess. It was one big room. There are pictures on Instagram or on their. They have a homepage, Furor Teutonicus.de, I think. If you want to look it up, there are pictures of the tournament. It's a very cool location, and I thought that's gonna be very loud tomorrow when I got there on Friday evening to set up my table. But this big room and there were some mechanics to actually get the echoes out of the air, I guess. Sorry, I'm lacking the vocabulary right now. So it was not loud at all. You could actually talk more or less normally at your table with 70 people around you talking as well, which was very great. And they made very good food for the times between games, and it's just a very great tournament in general. Probably the best we have in Germany. There are a few contenders, but this one is very good. Anything else I'd like to share? Well, my last game against Zeticus was very good. It's one of the guy who won the Furor 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We're both from roughly the same area. He lives like 100 kilometers away from me. So we usually see each other at the big tournaments on top tables, you know. It was a very, very good game. He played JSA Vanilla. In general, I played against 4 vanilla factions out of my 5 games in this tournament, and there only were like 10 vanilla players out of the 62. And it was a very intense game. And thank you for the game, I guess, to the guy. He's a really great guy. He at some point, he had duo of Karakuris, who he advanced into my, not just barely to my deployment zone. And I was like so used to all of his units being close combat specialists and and have mimetism and stuff. So when it was my turn, I wasn't sure how to attack these guys because Andromeda didn't want to hit them again and again with their immunity enhanced and 3 wounds, and Azura didn't want to shoot at them because eventually she'd lose a face-to-face. And at some point I remembered, oh yeah, they have physics 10. So my motorized bounty hunter in the second group just used 3 of their orders and peeked around the corner and glued them both to the ground with a heavy ride stopper.
MVPs, man.
It's such a good weapon. I love it. And then I isolated some close combat warband near those 2 as well, and my opponent used like 2/3 of their order pool in his second round to just repair the 3 of them, just so I could glue them or isolate them or immobilize them again in my turn again. It was very fun. And at some point I didn't have many orders left for my Azura, so I tried to figure out what's the safest way for her to survive the enemy onslaught the next turn, and then I just moved into close combat with an isolated Karakuri, and yeah, there she lived. It was pretty fun. I was actually proud on that one, to be honest, because she'd have died otherwise. It was cool. Yeah, and it was a very good tournament overall. Sorry, I'm having a hard time with anecdotes this year because there weren't too many like that memorable plays, I guess.
Right.
But in the end, maybe a little shout out to places to the guys who got second and third, which third was my opponent from the 5th round, Ketikus, and Chroma MK got second, and he's also from my area around 100 kilometers or something. And in my head, the 3 of us and maybe 2 other guys were like favorites for this tournament, and we placed 1, 2, and 3, which was actually quite cool, to be honest. We were happy for each other. Well, I was happy for them, I guess. So, yeah. So greetings, I guess. Yeah, but unless you have any questions, I'm having a hard time just.
No. I was just about to say, thank you so much for coming on. It's been real great having you back on, and I've really enjoyed going into, OSS and the lens through which you view the faction and how you build your lists. I think it's very different from what we normally see. I think it's very refreshing. It's very cool to see. I really enjoy this kind of thing. So
maybe one last thing. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
We did not talk at all about guided.
You're right.
Which I know people on the Discord were very surprised that I didn't play any guided, and some of them were surprised that you could even play OSS without guided. That's just not a thing I do because I don't like the mechanic. I think it's gotten even stronger in N5 because you're more reliable to put down pictures now. You have burst 2 spotlight actively. And you may even have one special dice when shooting your guided missile.
Yep, OSS does.
Yeah.
You can get it, right?
You don't need it,
bot is linkable.
But I think it's gotten even stronger now. And I don't like it. I wish Coast Valley would have done more to nerf it. But that's just my opinion. It's the mechanic of the game, and you have to deal with it. But I didn't talk about it because I don't like it. I don't play it, and that's why I can't really say how good or bad it is in OSS. I think it's not too good because you lack the repeater network at the start of the game, like other factions can. Like Morans and stuff, or deployable repeater mine layer units in the midfield. You lack this in OSS, so if your opponent alpha strikes you can't defend very well. But just for people, maybe people wonder why we didn't talk at all about it. I just have no experience with it.
No, that is another take, right? I know you don't have midfield deployables, right? Deployable repeaters or repeaters, but you do get kind of easy access to linked pitchers. So
sure.
So I think OSS still has a very strong guided game if you want to play it, something which you did not. So
yeah, if you want to play, but for that you also need a first turn, or at least survive the first turn of your opponent. And other factions can just start with repeaters in the middle of the table. That's
right.
What they lack, in my opinion, for that. But even then, I wouldn't play it because I just despise it. I just can't stand the mechanic.
Strong feelings about guided.
Yeah, strong feelings, which is fine. I won't hate you if you play it against me. It's part of the game, and I can deal with it if I need to. I don't want to shame or hate anyone for playing it. It's just not what I want to do. And I'm happy to have success without it. That's also something to take from it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, thanks for adding that in. I think that was definitely something important that we just skipped over. Right. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go?
No. Thanks for having me. I hope people can take something from the interview. And have a good one.
Rad. You too. Yep. Thank you one last time for coming on. And this was Whip 12, and we'll catch you next time.
Goodbye.